Anyone? Class component, right? Yeah, class component. Now, how you can write it? I have a class is there. Yeah. Is this class is acting like a component? Is this class is acting like a component? It's a normal ES6 class. Is this acting like a component? When it is acting like a component, when it can act like a component. Okay, in this class, how many members are there? No members, nothing. Zero members are there. There is no variables, there is no methods. There is no variables, there is no methods. So that overall zero variables. Okay, so that if you want to make this ES6 class acting like a React component, then what we have to do, it should have to get some of the properties from outside. Some of the properties from outside. Okay, how one class gets some properties from outside? How one class can get some properties from outside? By inheriting or not. Can anyone confirm, remaining people? Am I audible or not? Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. Okay, here says how this particular class can get some properties from outside means by using inheritance. If you want to inherit some of the properties from outside class, first of all, inherited class is required or not? Okay, from which class you want me to inherit this class, this app class? This is my own class. If you want to make this class is like a component, this class should extend from here. Okay, extends from where? There has one class given by React people. That class name is like a component. Component is the class. Component. Okay, this component class coming from React, so that we say like React.component. That's it. React.component. React.component. Yes or no? Okay, now tell me, in React.component, how many variables are there? How many variables are there? Can anyone? Okay, in React.component, how many variables are there? Okay, yeah. Okay, how many? Just make your chart is like a public. 4. Okay, 4. How we can check those? How we can check 4 variables are there? You said like how we can check? How we can check in React.component? Okay, you said like 4. More variables are there, but how we can check? Default is like 4. How we can check? Means very simple thing. First of all, this component is coming from where? React library. React library. Already your React library loaded, right? Okay, take one of the page where it's loaded. Already you loaded here in the hello world C. Here you loaded your React library or not. So that just run this file. Run it. Run it. Okay. How you can check is really my React library loaded or not means just open developer window. Developer window. Go to your source. Go to your okay, see here, here my React development.js loaded or not. Okay, now if you don't know that one source tab, just go to console, just type React. Just type React. See here, my React is there or not. React is there. Inside the React, these many features are there. Okay, we can see later. One of the feature is like what? To create your a class like a class component. To make your class like a class component, we are using this React.component class or not. Okay, it is like which type of class? It's like a functional class. In JavaScript, there has two types of classes out there. One is like functional, another one is like class keyword. So how we can get that one? React, it seems like an object format. See here, open one and closed one. Okay, curly braces. This is one property, comma, another property like that or not. So you can take like your component. See here, this is my React component or not. Now click on this one. If you click on this one, it's navigate to which file? React.development.js file. Inside this, there has one function is there. See here, function component. Function component. It is which I said like it's a class. I said like it's a class. Why? Because see here in your code, my app is a class extends from React.component. Okay, one class extends from where? Another class only or not. So that my React component you can say like a class. But don't expect like the React component also has to starts with class keyword. Don't expect like this way because in JavaScript we can create the class in two ways. One is like functional classes, another one is like class keyword classes. That means my function itself acting like a class. It's like a functional class. Now if you come here, if you come here, okay, see this is my functional class. Inside this there has some properties are there or not, some of the variables are there or not. What is my class? My class is a collection of variables and methods. Here you find like some variables. One is like what, props, another one is like a context, another one is like refs, another one is like updater. Okay, there are some other properties and methods also added somewhere, but default by seeing this one you can say like four variables are there or not. Now those four variables extends from okay react.component to your app or not. By default my app is nothing, there is no members, nothing. If my class is extends from react.component, then the time my app gets some of the properties from react.component. How many properties? Default four, multiples also there. What are those? One is like refs, another one is like context. What is the use? Everything we'll see, we'll discuss later. Another one is like props, another one is like update. Like this multiple properties inherited into our class. Okay, once these properties are inherited to our class, now my class gets some extra things. Okay, extra power is like acting like a component. That's it. Okay, why we go for component? Why we go for component? What is the purpose? Why we need? Okay, we are going to we are going to create a content. If you want to create a template, then only we can go with the component or not. If you want to prepare a template, so once you create a component, you should have to use some content back from this component or not at the time of loading. How we can load this component? Always my component we are going to load in the form of element or not. Element format starts with capital letter. Okay, now once you load like this, okay, what is expecting? What this component is expecting? This component is expecting some content or not. So now tell me, at the time of loading, if my a component is like a class component, internally what my React is going to do? What my React is going to do? Can anyone? Now see here, I'm loading line number 10. My execution is going to start from here, line number 10. Okay, first it is going to check my browser. Is this like a W3 element or not? No, W3 element is not. Okay, the element which is starts with capital letter, then the time my react.development.js, that guy, okay, told to my browser like treat this one like a component. So that this is not a W3 element. Okay, it starts with capital letter so that my browser treat this one is like what? A component. Now it is going to check. Now it's going to check my app possibilities are what? My app is a component. My app is a component. Okay, how many types of components are there? Maybe my app is like a functional. Maybe my app is like a functional. Maybe my app is like a class component or not. Agreed. Maybe my app is like a functional or a class component. If it is like a functional, how it looks like? If it is like a functional, how it looks like? It's a simple JavaScript function. The simple JavaScript function, open one and closed one. This function returns some content like hello or not. Close this one. That's it. Now see the possibilities. Once my component loaded, okay, once my browser decide this one is like a component, okay, then that time it is going to check this component is there or not there. Okay, if my component is there, possibilities either my component is there like a functional or it's like a class. If it is like a functional, what my React is going to do? What my React is going to do? If it is like a functional, how we can get this? How we can get this content? If it is a functional, just it is going to call that function or not. If it's like a functional, is my React is going to call that function or not? Yes or no? Once you call this function, you can get this content. This content you can display wherever you want. You can render wherever you want or not. Get the element by id of what root, wherever you want you can display. See, if it is like a functional, the flow is like this. First my component is going to load. Okay, at the time of loading my component, okay, it is going to check it's like which type of component. If it is like a functional component, then the time my react is going to call that function. Okay, another possibility is what, maybe my app component a class component also or not. So how it looks like, if it is like a class component, how it looks like, my class is the keyword app. Now it's like a ES6 class. It's not acting like what? Acting like a component. When it is going to acting like a component means it should have extends from one of the parent class which is given by React people, that is like a React.component. Now this one is acting like a class component. This one is acting like what? Class component. Okay. Now can anyone tell this component purpose is what? Why we go for component? See here, this is the component, so that this component returns this content. If it is like a class component also, you should have to return some content or not. So how we can anyone? Inside the class component, how you can prepare a content. If you want to write some piece of code inside a component, where you can write inside the methods or not. A class is a collection of variables and methods. If you want to write some piece of code, set of statements, if you want to write, where you can write inside the method or not. So that can I write like this? F1 or return hello. Can I write like this? Yes, you can write it. Syntactically, there is no issue with this. Syntactically, there is no issue with this. Okay. If it is like a functional component, my React is going to call that function. Then the time my this function is going to return your content. If it is like a class component, what my React is going to do? Can anyone tell? If it is like a class component, what my React is going to do? Inside the class component, okay, one method is there, F1. That method is going to return some content. Return some content. Inside the class, one method, how you can call it? Inside the class, one method, how you can call it? Okay, by creating an object or not. Who can create an object in React? For class component, who can create an object? Okay, my React is going to create. You are not the responsible person or not. So how my React is going to create an object for this particular one? It is going to create an object like this, where object name equals to new app, like this is going to create or not. Once he create an object, then that time he can call this method or not. Which method? F1. F1 is the method you written, but how my React people knows about your method name? Okay, now you said like F1. Okay, in another component you put like F2, F3, like this different methods if you use for preparing the content. How this React guy, okay, React people knows about your method, what method we used to prepare the content. Okay, there has something like, okay, we are not able to, my React people is not able to assume or not, there is some conflict is there or not. Okay, so that these people said like, me only create an object, right? Okay, my React people only created an object, so that we only call one of the method. Okay, which method? Render I am calling. So that I am calling a render method is nothing but you should define that method, then only that method is going to call or not. If you not define the method, if you not define my method what I called, then the time simply I throws an error. That's it. So that what you have to do, you should have to define a render method to prepare the content or not. Okay, anyway, I'm not able to follow you. Why? Because you are using like different methods. At least you can follow. Okay, why? Because my React is like unique one, right? You can write like 100 components. For 100 components, my React library is like only one. Okay, instead of following 100 components, you can follow me. That's simple or not? Okay, so that my React people said like, I will create an object for your class. I am going to call one of the method called as a render method. So make sure this render method is available inside the class to prepare the content. Now onwards. Okay, now see my object created. He called render method. Yes, my render method is there. My render method returns some content. That content is going to render inside this container or not. That's it. This is the simple flow or not. Understand how my functional component is going to work, how my class component is going to work. Okay, let's do it again. See, first, this is my component. This is my component. How we can say the element which starts with capital letter, that one is like a component. Yes, this one is acting like a component. Okay, this one is recognized like a component. Once it is recognized like a component, what is the next step? Component is there or not there? Yes. Okay, app component is defined or not defined? Okay, if they defined, okay, they may define like a functional component, they may define like a class component, they may define like a class component. If they define like a functional component, what we have to do? My React is going to call that function simply to get this content. If they defined that app component like a class component, they created an object for this particular class and called one of the method called as a render method. Okay, if the render method is there, no problem. If the render method is not there, it throws an error. Okay, if the render method is there, that render method returns a content. That content is going to render inside the container. Yes or no? But in class, we can have the n number of methods, but this approach is strictly used to create only one method. Not like that. Not like that. Only one method we are going to use to prepare the content. You can write any number of methods. You can split from here, no problem at all. You can write any number of methods from here. You can write any number of methods. Okay. Now I'm going to write like this. In this method, return h1 f1. Suppose my h1. In this method, return. Okay. H1 f2. f2. How many methods has a content now? Three methods has content, f1, f2, and render. In this three method, which method is called by React? Is my f1 and f2 is going to call? No. Okay, only my render method is going to call. Inside the render method, can you do one thing? Okay, where is your data? Where is your data? My data inside my f1. Just call it. Okay, you can call it. My data inside my f2 also. Inside my f2 also. Yes, you can call it. F2 also you can call it. Now close my div. See here, my React created an object. It calls a render method. Yes, this is only the method. Inside the render method div. Okay, this part is what? Can anyone suggest? Can anyone tell how we can write? How we can tell? What is this? What is this name? Yes, it's a JSX1. JSX1. It's a combination of what? It's a combination of what? HTML and XML and the JavaScript also. See, this is the JavaScript one or not. Inside the JavaScript, can I call my F1? If I call my F1, what is required? Object is required. So that this dot F1. Once I called one of the method, that method returns something. That one is going to render here or not. So that this part gives me what? H1, F1, close your H1. Again, F3 you are calling. If you want to call one of the class method, what is required? Object is required. This dot F3. That F3 returns what? One of my H1 content. Okay, that one is going to return or not. See here. Here I used multiple methods. Yes, you can use it. But my React is going to call only one method. Inside that method only, you can call your methods, no problem at all. Okay, I have different content. You can say like entry point. Okay, you can say like an entry point. That one only. From that entry point, it's not go anywhere. You are the person to call your own methods if you want. Only one method is going to call my React. That is the render method. You can say entry point, no problem method to get the content. Inside this one, you can call your own methods, no problem. Okay, I have different content based on the conditions or criteria. How a single render method helps us. For example, I have to display second div. Yeah, you have, you can. Okay, based on ternary operators, you'll see here. This is the JavaScript code. It's a JavaScript code. Okay, here you can write. Okay, if my I value equals to 1, then that time can you call my F1? Else can I call my F2? Yes. whatever we can do inside the JavaScript. Yes, you can write here. JSX is a combination of HTML, HTML and XML and JavaScript. See here. If my I value, if I write like let I equals to 1, I equals to 1. If my I equals to 1, then that time this dot F1 content you can display. Otherwise, this dot F2 content you can display. You can display. Okay, in this case, what is my output? What is my output here? Okay, my I value is like 1. I value is like 1, so that my this dot F1 content is going to display or not. Any JavaScript code you can write it. Understand? So for good. Okay, these are all things we are going to cover. Okay, for now, okay, the skeleton, you can concentrate on the skeleton one. Okay, now let's write. Okay, then. Now, can anyone tell? Just answer this one. Okay, error messages are very, very important. So that, okay, what is the error message? Will it give an error message? Will it give an error message? Or if it is like error message, what is that message? Can we pass some inputs to render method? Okay, see, who called render method? You called or React? Who called render method? If I call, I can pass. I can pass, but my React people called, right? Then the time, okay, those people not send anything. Only one render method. If you write multiple render methods in JavaScript, overloading concept is not there. Overloading concept is not there. So that which one is the latest one? Okay, which one is the latest method? That method only will execute. Okay, inside the class, if you write like multiple render methods also, you can write it. But which one is the latest one? Okay, last method. That one only overrides remaining all methods. Remaining all methods. Only one method. In JavaScript, there is no overloading like Java.net. Okay, what is the error message? Okay, here there is no error message, nothing. Simply my browser said like, I am not able to recognize this element. That's it. Okay, it's a warning. My browser said like what? I am not able to recognize this particular element. He said like that. Okay, simply if you come here, okay, if you put like this, okay, control S. Now come here. Can I refresh my page? Okay, can I go to my console? See this, there is a warning is there. The tag app is unrecognized in the browser. That's it. Okay, if you mean to render a React component, start its name with an uppercase letter. That's it. He said like that. Got it or not? Okay, done. The next one. Now, if I write like this, if I put this one like this, what is the message? Will it gives an error or it gives me a warning? Will it gives an error or it gives me a warning? What is the message? What is the error message? What is the error message? Hmm? See this, very simple. This is my component. It is looking for the component, right? Is my component is there? Is my capital app is there? Somewhere defined? Not defined. So that it gives me app is not defined error. App is not defined. App is not defined. If you write like this, okay, this is my app. Here you put like yeah. See, syntactically both are correct. Syntactical no problem because this is also class. That's it. But at the time of searching for this capital APP, then that is not there. Okay, app is not defined. Got it or not? Okay, the next one. Now what is the error? 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 Exact error message tell me. exact error message. Okay, what is error message? It's very simple thing. See, my app recognized like a component. Perfect. Which type of component this is? Which type of component? Which type of component? Is a class component. If it is like a class component, what my React is going to do? If it is like a functional component, my React is going to call that function. If it is like a class component, what my React is going to do? If it is like a class component, what my React is going to do? Hmm? Yes, it will create an object. It will create an object. It will create an object. Yes, where instance equals to okay new yeah. Once you create an object, what he's going to do? Immediately calls render method or not? Okay, immediately calls which method? Render method. Inside this object, my render method is there or not there? Instance new app is belongs to this. Okay, inside this one render method is not there or not there? Not there. Instance is an object. Inside this render is the property. One property is not there is nothing but what is my value? Inside object, one property is not there. What is the value? Instance is an object. Okay, instance dot render. Render is a property. That property is not there. In that time, it's like undefined. Undefined. So that instance dot render value is like a undefined. Now you are calling that undefined. Can we call undefined or what we can call? We can call only functions. Okay, we are not able to call undefined. So that he said like what? Instance dot render is a undefined. Okay, it should be a function. Then only I can call it. So that he said like simply instance dot render is not a function. Instance dot render is not a function. If this one is not there, instance dot render is not a function. App is not defined. Something like this. Instance dot render is not a function. See, if you know the error message, okay, exactly this error because of this reason we are getting. If you know that one, then that time in future, wherever you find this name instance dot render, then that time directly you can understand, you can fix it. If you don't know this error message, if you see this error message, what you can understand? Okay, now what is the message? What is the error message? What's wrong with this? Instance dot render is there. Instance dot render is there. Now I can call it also. I can call it also. But I'm expecting from my component always like what? Some content, right? If I call my render method, that guy has to give the content to me or not? Okay. If the method, how it give some content back by returning or not? But that return is not there. So that it gives me no return statement found. It gives me an error like what? No return statement found. See, nothing was written from render. Nothing was written from render. This is usually means the return statement is missing. Return statement is missing, or to render nothing, return null. Okay, like this is said. So that my component is not give some content back is nothing. But what is the use of this component? Nothing. Okay, there is no use. Then the time, if there is no use, then why I need to create a component? The component should return some content always or not. That's all. Got it right? Okay, done. Now let's start with another example. Can we convert this one? I want to convert this one like a class component. Okay, let's try it. Copy this one. C means class. Okay, that's right. Which line you want me to change? Just line number 10, that's enough. Which line number you have to change? Do you want me to change these libraries? These libraries are common for any type of component. Container you want me to change? No. Okay, this is the one CSS. CSS also required. Okay, the way of loading the component is different, vary from functional to class. The way of loading the component, the way of using the component is different. Okay, either it is a functional or a class, the way of using is same or not, element with capital letter. Okay, the way of defining the component is like different or not. You define this component like a functional one. I don't want this. I don't want this. So that can we convert into class now? Okay, what's in the component? My class box is my component. Will it acting like a component now? Will it acting like a component? When it's going to acting like a component, my component should extend from one of the component called as a React component or not, React component class or not, React component class. Now, yes, this particular box is acting like a component now. This particular box is going to acting like what? Component now. My component should return a content so that inside the class, which method you should have to use, not recommended, should. You should have to use to prepare the content if it is like a class component. My render is the method because that method is called by React. If the render method is not there, it throws an error what? Instance.render is not a function. Okay, this render should return what? This render should return what? Your content. See, if it is like a functional component, this is only your content, right? Okay, this content you have to place where? Inside your render method or not. My functional component directly you can write like a return statement. If it is like a class component, the same content is going to return where? Written by render method. That's it. Converted or not? Can I remove this? Any other changes are required? Any other changes are required? Okay. My render method take how many arguments? My render method take how many arguments? Okay, how many arguments? Can you pass arguments to this render method? Can you pass? Can you pass arguments to this render method? No. Why? Because who called the method? That guy only can pass it, right? Who called this method? You called or my React people call? My React people is going to call. So that if you call, you can pass any number of arguments, but you not called. My React people call this one. Okay, so that those people not pass any arguments. Okay, again we are going to discuss any how many arguments is going to pass at the time of lifecycle methods discussion. For now, just hold it. Okay, done. Okay, can we run it? Now open with lifecycle. Now see my box. This is only right. Okay, done. Can you go with the box 9? Okay, this is my hollow, right? Hollow done. Okay, hollow 3.html. 3 hollows are required. Can we do this one? Okay, all components, whatever you created a functional, just convert it into class. That's it. Hollow 3. See, for you can say like it's like a class component. You can understand that. Okay, done. Now tell me. Now tell me. Which part you want me to change? I want to convert into class component. Which part you want me to change? This is like functional component, right? Can we change this one first? Okay, how we can? My class hello hello. Okay, will it acting like a component? No, it should have extends from where? Extends from react.component. React.component. Okay, done. My react.component extends. Which method we are going to use to prepare that? We should have to return. Now, can we return this content from here? Can we return this content from here? Done. I converted into class component. Now, my app is which type of component? My app is which type of component? Here in this case, it's a functional component. My hollow is which type of component? My hollow is like a class component. Can we load a class component inside a functional component? Will it allow or it will throw an error? Will it throw an error? Can anyone? Okay, now if you come here, can I refresh my page? Now see this. Hello, printed or not? Okay, if you put like hello, okay, only one change is enough. Okay, now it's going to run like hello world or not. Okay, means see the way of defining is different, but the way of loading for class and functional component both are same or not, so that there is no problem at all. There is no problem at all. You can load a class component inside a functional component. You can load a functional component inside a class component. No problem at all. No problem at all. The way of loading is same for both functional and class. So that can we convert this one also? Okay, here itself I can convert. Come on. My class, yeah, should extend from where? Should extend from where? React dot component. React dot component. This return statement should under which method? Content should return from render method. So that can be write inside this. My class component ready. What can I refresh? Any changes? No changes, nothing. Agreed? Okay, that's right. Now, box 9 boxes. Okay, can we convert this one also? Okay, now first run it. Okay, this is my requirement. 9 boxes are there. Each and every box has their own ID number, box number. Okay, this one I want to convert into right. Move on. My box 9 HTML. Can we copy this one? Okay, can I paste here? Okay. No. What changes you want me to do? What changes you want me to do? Overall, how many components are there? See, these libraries, this particular styling, it's common. Okay, don't change it. Okay, what you have to concentrate is the functional components are there, convert into class component. The way of rendering also same, so that there is no need to touch this one also. So that you have to convert this one as well as this one. These two things you have to do it. Okay, how you can? Can anyone? Okay, how you can do it? Okay, let's start with this. Let's start with this. Okay, can we convert it? How you can? My class box, which extends from where same. Okay, it extends from React dot component. Okay, React dot component. Yes. Okay, done. Okay, can anyone tell from my React component to box how many properties inherited? How many properties are inherited? Yeah, I'll tell. Next question is that one only. Yeah, four properties are inherited. What are those? Okay, what are those? Those properties are like functions or variables? Variables only. What are those? One is like props. The another one is like refs. The another one is like context. Another one is like update. These all are like what? These all are like variables. These all are like variables. Inherited from where to where? Inherited from where to where? React dot component to your box. React dot component to your box. Okay, perfect. Okay, done. Okay, you can put like this. Okay, the next one. My component is ready. Component is ready. Okay, next. This content has to return. Okay, how we can return this content? Can anyone guess? From your class component, how we can return the content? By using render method. Okay, so far nothing new. Okay, now this is my content. Can we remove this one? Can we remove this one? Now, if I run this one, can anyone tell what is my error message? If I run this one, can anyone tell what is my error message? What is my error message? If I run this one, can anyone tell what is my error message? Hmm? Perfect. Data is not defined. Data is not defined. Okay. Data dot n, when it go to the next level, next expression, when it go to the next expression, if this one is there, then only go to the next level, right? If data is not there, then how it go to dot n? Okay, it will never. Okay, first of all, data is not defined. If you come here, box C, open with Larry server. Okay, this is my you're not sure of what this one, right? Oh, you made some changes in this. Okay, change the names. This is my class component, and this one is my functional component. Okay, done. Now can we run it? My functional component. Okay, now see, I'm running this one. Can we inspect it? Can you go to my console? See this, data is not defined. Data is not defined. Data is not there. Data is not there. Okay, but here in the functional component, if you observe, my data is there, right? My data which is coming from where? My data which is coming from where? This data which is coming from where? See, at the time of loading my box, if you pass any data, the data come to my box component. If it's like a functional component, as like a argument or not, as like a argument. See here, if like a box component is like a functional component, if my box component is like a functional component, okay, at the time of loading this functional component, whatever the data, okay, if it is like an element, how we can pass the data in the form of attributes. Okay, you can say directly whatever the attributes you are going to pass to this particular box, that attribute come to your component, functional component, like a argument, like a argument, so that you can give the name like anything. Okay, what is the type of this argument? The attributes are come to this particular box component like an argument. I said attributes in the form of what? Key value pairs, so that key value pairs we can represent like what? An object, so that my data is an object. From this object, how we can take the data? Data dot n or not? Data dot n. This is the thing we already discussed for the functional component. Okay, now can anyone tell this data go to functional component or class component? This data, now this data go to functional component or class component? My box is a class component, not a functional component. My box is a class component. If it is like a class component, how we can get this data inside my class component? How we can represent this data inside my a class component? That is your question or not? Yes or no? That is only your question, right? Okay, if you know that one, then the time you can place that content here. Okay, for now just hold this one, just put like one hard coded value, put it. Then the time if you put like hard code, all are like once only or not, all are like once only. It's not my requirement, it's not my requirement. Okay, leave that one for now. Now come on, if it is like a class component, who created an object? Who created an object? If it is like a class component, who created an object? Can anyone? My React. Okay, I want the proof. I want the proof. Really, my React created an object or not for this particular class component. I want the proof. Okay, how we can confirm one class object created or not? How we can confirm? Yes, once my constructor executed, is nothing but what? Yes, you can confirm like what? My object created, like this you can say or not. Agreed? My constructor executed is nothing but what? Yes, my object created, like this you can say or not. So that can we write the constructor here? Okay, constructor what is not there, just write it. Okay, now tell me, if you run this one, can anyone tell what is the error message? If you run this one, can anyone tell what is the error message? Can anyone? If you define the constructor inside a class, if my class is extends from a parent class, you are the responsible person to call your parent class constructor to perform initialization by allocating the memory of my parent class members or not? Yes or no? You are the responsible person. When? If you define the constructor. If the constructor not there, then the who will take care? Who will take care? Just it's like in JavaScript, it's going to call your parent class constructor by default. Now I defined this one. Now see this. We come here. Can I refresh my page? Now can you see this? This has not been initialized. super has not been called. Super has not been called. Okay, if the super not called, then that time my parent class members are not initialized. Okay, oh, how many parent class members are there? Props are there. Okay, not initialized. Okay, not allocating the memory. Okay, context is there. Riffs are there. These are not allocating the memory. If you're trying to take that one, if the allocating memory is not happen, if you're trying to use that one, then that means throws an error or not. That is the only thing is happen here. Now see here, has not been initialized, super has not been called. So that you are the responsible person to call your super class constructor to perform initialization for my super class member by allocating the memory or not. Now there is no error, nothing. There is no error, nothing. Is it really my constructor called or not? Can I put the debugger here? 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 Now can I refresh my page? Yes, my constructor called or not? My constructor called or not? Agreed. My constructor called. Okay, means my constructor called means object created. To whom object created? It's a simple JavaScript basic things. These all are like. Okay, constructor called is nothing but yes, object created. For which one? Box object created or not? Who created an object? React. That object, external object with whom? React. Those people are going to call your render method. But internally, if you want to use an object, how we can represent a class object inside the class? How we can represent a class object inside the class internal? How we can use it? By using my current object this or not. Now see, my this is there or not there. So I put like my this, yes, my box created or not. Agreed? Yes or no? How many members are there at this point of time? How many members are there inside the box? Okay, is there any members are there? There is no members, nothing. There is no members. See this, there is no members, nothing. There is no members, nothing. Why no members? Means see, when you can ready to use the member, whenever it is going to perform initialization by allocating the memory, then only we can use it or not. See, you are in the line number 9, but my super class constructor, when you called line number 10, you called my line number 10 not at executed, not yet executed. So that whenever my super class constructor is going to call, then only my super class members are going to initialize it, then only we can use it or not. Agreed or not? So that can we come here? Who is the super class here? Can anyone tell? Who is the super class here? React.component. Can we check React.component really execute or not? Okay, this is my React.component constructor. If you come here, see this React.component executed or not? My React.component class is like which type of class? It's a functional class. Which take how many arguments here? Props are there, not passed, undefined not passed, updated not passed. Now see, now inside this my props allocated or not? Okay, inside this my context is there. Now see, inside this my props are there, my context is there. In the past nothing is there. In the past nothing is there. If you observe, is mounted, replaced it, okay, mounting and everything we'll see later. But in the past, what? Here in the box nothing is there. See here, nothing is there. But if you observe in the box, if you observe in the box, see this, my props initialized which value? Undefined. There is no value, nothing. But okay, it allocated the memory or not? Allocated the memory or not? There is no value, nothing. But still the space is there. Okay, context also there. Now if you come here, the riffs also there or not? My riffs also, now see, my riffs also there. Okay, the next one, riffs. Okay, this one undefined, this one undefined. Why riffs is like one object means here my riffs is like what? An empty object he assigned, my React people. Here they assign like what? Props is like undefined. Here context is like undefined. Here one empty object he assigned. Okay, now update is what? This is the one. Now can you see this? All are initialized or not? Okay, done. Once my constructor execution is completed, can anyone tell what is the next one? What he is going to call? Once my constructor execution is completed, what is the next? Okay, that means once my object creation is done, what he is going to call? My React people is going to call my render method or not? So that can I put the debugger inside the render method also? Can I put the debugger inside my render method also? Okay, is it really called or not? Can Can I put the debugger here? Okay, now come here. Can I refresh? Now can I refresh this one? Okay, now can I open? Can I refresh my page? Now see. Refresh my page. Okay, first my constructor is going to execute. Okay, my constructor is going to call your React. Okay, and then it's going to call what? Your render method. Okay, your render method. Now, can you check inside the render method? Inside the render method, can I check my current object this? Can I check my current object this? Now see, you are in the render method now. If you open this, what do you observe? If I open this one, what do you observe? You observe something here. What do you observe? See, my context is there. Okay, coming from React.component. My props are there. My refs are there. Another variable also added. State is there. Update is there. Like this, multiple variables are there, which is coming from where? React.component or not. If you observe this props one, see here name box n1. If you see this one, name box n1. This is the data you pass to my class component. Inside the class component, how we can represent the data? By using props variable or not. See this. This is my props one. Can anyone tell how we can get this one? My props is which type? My props is which type? It's like which type? It's a JSON, right? Okay, these all variables inside which class? Box class or not. So that inside the class some member is there. How we can get that member? How we can call that member? By using an object. So what is my object here inside the class? This is my object. Okay, what is my property name? Props is my property, which is coming from React component. How we can get that one? By using n, right? Okay, this is my one or not. Now this one only, where you want me to place? Can I place inside my code here instead of hard coding? Can I place this one? Can I place this one? Yes or no? Now can I refresh my page? Now it's working as expected or not? Okay, now can you conclude one sentence? Okay, if you pass the data to the component, if you pass the data to the component, if my component is like a functional component, you can represent the data as a function argument by using function argument. If my component is like a class component, we can represent the data. One of the variable is like a props variable. By using that props variable, we can represent the data which is coming from outside or not. Yes or not? The props variable which is coming from where? The props variable is your variable, no, right? That is coming from my react.component or not, my react.component class or not. So that inside a class component, if you want to represent the data which is coming from outside, inside a component, inside a each component, class component, inside a class component, if you want to represent the data which is coming from outside is nothing but you give this n equals to 1 from which component? App component. It is outside to my box component or not. So that you can say like this. If it is like a class component, okay, the data which is coming from outside to this particular component, okay, if you want to represent that data, how we can represent? By using the variable called as a props variable or not. Okay, my props is which type? The data is coming like a which format? Key value pair format or not. So that the props is like which type? It's an object type or not. Okay, this why this? Inside a class, if you want to call any variable or method, how we can call it? By using an object only or not? Class members called by using an object. So that inside the class we can represent object by using this or not. So that this dot props, what is my key? N or not? That's it. This is the way it's going to work. Now can we convert this one? Again, my class yeah extends from React dot component come here. Okay. Done. Okay. What is next one? What is next one? You have to write one of the method called the render. Render. Okay. Now my class is ready or not? My class is ready. Okay. My class component is ready. Done. Is it okay or not? Okay. The next one is like what? Players. Players one. Can we convert that one also? How we can write it? My player C dot. Okay. Now this is my players. Now control A, control C. Now come here. Okay. That's right. Come on. How we can? Can we convert this one into class component? How we can? My class player is extend from. It is extend from. Yeah. Dot component. Okay. The next one. This is the data you have to return out using render. Using render method. Render method. Okay, done. What is the error? Can anyone tell me? What is the error message? If you run this one, what is the error? Can anyone? What is the error? Data is not defined. Data is not defined. So my player component is like which type of component now? The player component is like which type of component now? Can anyone guess? It's like a functional or class. A class component. A class component. A class component. Now you are passing this data to my class component, right? If it is like a class component, okay, any data which is coming from outside to this class component, how we can represent the data? By using one of the variable called as what? Props is the variable or not. Okay, so that how we can? This dot props. Okay, variable, if you want to call, it's a class member, so that I'm going to call with my object. This dot props. Here, what is my key here? The data is coming like a key value page. What is the data key? N. Okay, here also the same. This dot props dot N. That's it. Now see, there is no change at all. Okay, open with the live server. This is Sachin. I'm from Mumbai. I'm from Bangalore. Okay, convert this one also. Okay, how can convert? Class, class, which is extends from React dot component. Open one and close one. Okay, now this is the content you have to return. This is the content you have to return by using what? Random. Okay, new player can we call like this? Means no, new player we should not. Why? Because who create an object? You created or React? React. You are the not the responsible person to call your, okay, to create an object. Okay, the new player and everything is taken care by those people only. Now say this. Is it okay or not? Okay, you can call it, no problem at all. You can call it. You can call it. Whatever the JavaScript syntax is there, that syntax we can write it inside one class. Another class object we can create. No problem. Okay, it's working as expected or not? Done. All are converted into what? Functional component to class components or not? So you should have to practice. These are the basic things. If you know these things, then the time only we can go with another topics like multiple components we can write in future. So that the basic skeleton is important. Okay, so that practice from your end, what you have to do is just write 10 error messages. Just write 10 error messages I want. That's it. Okay, anyone can execute this program by seeing this one. Anyone, what is there in this? Okay, exactly 5 or 6 lines of code. But error messages I want. If this one is not there, okay, what is the error message you may get? Okay, if this one is missing, what is the error message you may get? Like this. Okay, 10 error messages you can write it so far. What we discussed in the React. Okay, from there, okay, on the topics, just write 10 error messages. Okay. Now I'm going to upload this one. Okay, the content, videos, and everything you can find the content.txt file. Content.txt file. Okay, this is the file content.txt. You can extract, then you can get it. All the videos are there. Okay, don't worry about this one. This is my work. Yes. Okay. It's uploaded. You can download from where? Java.com is our website. Okay. If you want to get that, you can go to React this tab. Okay, and then click on this today's class link. If you click on this one, you can get this zip folder. You can extract it, then you can find all these things. There you can find your content. Remaining all day 1 to till today, what we discussed, everything you can find there. Okay. Okay then. Thanks guys. Thanks for joining.